My name is Mark McFarland. I have been a private investigator for the past 36 years. One specific case has haunted me for nearly 3 decades. The case of TJ James Trimble, a 14-year-old boy who was convicted in Aroostook County, Michigan of a double homicide of Peter and Ruth Stanley on April 19, 1997. The events of that night has caused me to question the official narrative. The narrative that he alone rode his bike 3 miles with a rifle, broke into the Stanley home, and murdered them in their sleep just to steal their car. I contend that Mr. Trimble was wrongfully convicted of the homicides, did not enter their home, and has spent the last 28 years of his life behind bars for only stealing a car. Okay, so TJ Trimble, who's 14 years old in 1997, he is the center of the Aroostook County's investigation. Okay, they believe that he's the sole person, that he rides his bike 3 miles from his home, breaks into the back door, goes down to Mr. and Mrs. Stanley's bedroom, shoots them twice in the head each, takes the keys to their car, and then breaks into the garage and takes their car. I was a private investigator living in the county at the time that it happened. And it was also very peculiar too that I was also a substitute teacher at the very school that TJ went to at that time and Athena had gone to. And the atmosphere at that time was very tense. They had therapists for the students that, that this crime had occurred in such a small town. To establish my case, it was important to speak with someone who knew both TJ and Athena, TJ's girlfriend at the time of the murders. This person was related by marriage to Athena, and he also served time with TJ and was recently released from prison after serving 15 years for armed robbery. Let's just go back in time. What was her involvement and what was her relationship with her parents? Can we go into that?
Yep. So her father, he was in her life, but he worked a lot. The mother, Sandy, was just brutally to be honest, a crackhead.
Okay.
She had a very serious drug problem. So
okay.
She come from kind of I wouldn't say, because the dad and mom were close as far as they was friends, but she didn't really get much support from her mom, I guess. Like usually either her sister had her or her dad or her older brother.
Okay. And so the idea that she was involved in gang activity in the Genesee area, can you tell me about that?
She was just getting in so much trouble that she just couldn't take it. As far as the mother, she was just out of control, and then the mother had her own issues, so she went to her grandparents, I believe, are the ones that lived up there.
Yes.
On her mother's side.
There are other individuals that come into play in this investigation. This individual right here, his name was Stephen Rakowski. He was a good associate with Troy Holland, which was a grandson to the Stanleys. The parents were also crying out to the police that, look, this is a wider conspiracy, that our son could have not done this. And the undersheriff at the time, Dwayne Bean, was stating that, no, we only have one person we're looking at. Even though their own investigation shows that there's other persons of interest. They were pretty close in age. Rakowski was 25, he was 27 at the time. They were in the all gray area also. Athena Koviak was TJ's girlfriend. And after talking with a very close family member, Yeah, she grew up on the streets, basically. Her mother was an extreme crackhead, okay, in Flint, Michigan. And, you know, her mother knew enough to say, look, you're gonna go live with your grandparents in All Gray, Michigan, a very small town of 1,000 people. But you can't take that out of that 14-year-old girl just because she's in that town now, where there's virtually no crime. And I think that if TJ would have never met her, he wouldn't be in prison. I mean, because it's critical that they had met, and now this happened.
I knew you were gonna choke.
It wasn't that bad.
You okay?
It wasn't that bad.
So, excited for the party?
Yeah, of course.
It's gonna be a good time, trust me.
I think so too.
You wanna try again?
Sure.
Give it back. You're funny. You're gonna learn a lot hanging out with me.
She knew
Damn.
Mr. Rakowski, and she claims that she was with Mr. Rakowski that night, riding around All Gray. Okay. Rakowski dies of heart disease. This was 2020, and Troy Holland dies of liver failure. So he dies in 2015. So Troy Holland's 45 at the time, and Rakowski's 48 when he dies. This is the back door of the home that was breached. They're claiming that TJ broke this door. This is the bedroom. We had one live round that was pushed out of the 22 bolt action rifle, 22, and then 4 spent shells. The sheriff who was involved in this was James Misiski, a longtime sheriff. He come upon this incident roughly around 3:30 in the morning that he shows up to the Aranac County Sheriff's Department. The last person to talk with TJ before he left his house that night was his mother, Beverly Jeannie Trimble. Today, she is in poor health, but was willing to share her story.
They came out to the trailer and said that he was arrested for stolen car, a gun, a bike, and Stanley's murders. That's the first time we ever heard about it.
At this time, TJ had been in custody for many hours without an attorney present, and he had already invoked his rights twice by not talking with Aranac County Sheriff James Misiski, yet the questioning continued. You go to the police station and wait to talk to him,
Right,
and you talk to the sheriff?
yes. We walked in, sit in the sitting room, that's what they told us, waiting room. And we were standing out by the door for a minute, and Troy and them come out,
Now, who is Troy?
Stanley,
Okay.
or Holland,
Okay, that would be a grandson
yes.
to
their
the victims, okay?
Yes, and their kids, the other kids. They all come out, and Troy seen Jim, and he started right on Jim. He pushed Jim up against the wall, started choking him, we couldn't get him off, so I hollered for police to come in to break it up.
This was right in the lobby of the police
Yes.
department, Aranac Police
Yep.
Department.
And they told us to wait there. We didn't know they were there, or we would have waited, and we wouldn't have waited, we would have come back. But they told us to wait, and they told us that they got him off Jim.
Okay.
Troy did. Well, they got Troy off Jim.
Right.
And True knew that if he hit him, because he had his fist doubled back, he was going to hit Jim in the face. Jim was in a car accident. And that any hit in the face could have killed him.
Right. Jim's your husband.
Yes.
Okay.
And one hit in his face, because he had steel plating off of under the eyes and wired jaw wired and all that to his face, one hit would have killed him. Well, we went back. They took us back to where he was at. And he said, we want TJ to tell us the truth.
Okay.
Confess.
Right.
And I told him, I said, if he didn't do it, no, he's not going to confess to nothing. Because I know him. I'm his mom, you know. And then that was said, and then he gave us a card to read our rights.
A Miranda card?
Yep. And we signed it. He had us sign it, which I don't know why, but they did.
Okay.
Mr. Misiski did. And then one officer come back to where we were at. He said, he's staying to the story, his story. I said, he gets a lawyer first.
But they didn't provide one at that time?
No, not at that time.
Gerald White, he's the detective in this investigation. Jack Scully becomes the prosecutor. And we also have Mr. Garner Dewey, who becomes TJ's public defender. Okay. So, the official narrative that TJ commits these crimes solely to get a car, that he murders these people in their sleep, in their bedroom. Through our investigation, we have determined, and based on a letter that TJ Trimble had written from prison in 2005 to his parents, he implements, he brings these people in. TJ states that that night he rode his bike there to the property. We know that he's there. When he arrives at the property, Steve Rakowski and TJ's girlfriend are trying to pry that back screen open of that bedroom. That would be back behind the Stanley's bedroom. They abort that because they can't get in through that way. They all go to the back door, and at that point, Steve Rakowski has a gun, a rifle with him. TJ states that he does not bring that rifle. And at this point, Steve Rakowski says to TJ to go to the detached garage and get the car. TJ does that. He breaks the glass on the door of the garage as Athena and Rakowski go into the home. Athena at this point is wearing a ski mask. I believe at this point she only thinks that this is a home invasion to rob the home of money. Rakowski has the gun and walks down the hall, and the Stanleys are sleeping, and he executes both of them. At that point, they leave, they take the keys, they go to the garage, and at that point, TJ is driving, Athena is in the passenger front, and Rakowski is in the back seat behind TJ.
What the fuck was that? You told me that we were gonna be stealing a car. You didn't say anything about a gun. You didn't say anything about shooting somebody. We are so fucked.
Shut the fuck up! Get out of here!
They drive the car about a quarter of a mile down the road Rakowski throws a gun and flashlight out that left side of the car.
What the fuck? Ow!
Athena throws her ski mask out onto the road on the right side, and then they continue on, okay? The murders occurred at about 12:30 a.m. By 1 o'clock, TJ is at a local gas station and he is videotaped walking in at 1 o'clock. Today, Red is a national act, a DJ and podcast host. During the mid-90s, he was by his own admission a street kid who had been moved to Aroostook County in a last-ditch effort to stay out of trouble. He knew both TJ and Athena and rode the bus with TJ. He remembers the murders and the impact it had on a small northern Michigan town, which offered him a break from going down the wrong path. Now, you knowing her, when I mentioned that she could have commandeered his gun, she was over there all the time at his house. Why did you say that that's possible? Why do you think that?
Because she was wicked.
Okay.
I mean, I felt her energy, I felt her vibe. She was way more wicked than I ever was when I was into gangs, and
Okay.
so she was just deeper into it. And like I said, she had a troubled past that I didn't have.
Okay.
She was into drugs that I wasn't into. And for her, it probably started earlier. If her mom was a crackhead,
Right.
you know, she was probably dabbling with drugs at 10, possibly. You don't know.
Right.
But, you know, I grew up in Saginaw and I seen everything, you know. And Flint I would consider Flint even worse.
Yes.
Like I said, when she moved to town, I told everybody around me, like, she is bad news. Like, I can feel it off her, you know, and I know this. I know this energy very well. And it was concerning, you know, because other people were concerned. You know, when I moved there, people were concerned about me and what I was capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was well aware of that. The teachers would approach me, and I remember a teacher saying, Mr. P said, he passed away, but he says, you are a product of your own decisions. And that was like a crossroad for me. I get goosebumps just remembering the conversation, because at that time I had a choice to put down all those city habits,
Right.
and be real with who I am, and you know, go down a different road. That was my crossroad, and that's what I did. And unfortunately, I don't think she was ever given that opportunity.
He puts gas in the car, they leave, and later on, down the road, TJ simply says that he saw a dog or a deer, and the car is put in the ditch. At that point, Rakowski and Athena state that they're going to get help. TJ stays by the car. A good Samaritan, Amy Bargo, stops. She's on her way to work at a local bakery. She knows right away that he's not getting the car out of the ditch. She takes him back to her home only a few miles up the road. They call a wrecker. She brings him back to the car. He waits by the car, and she continues on to work. Not too long after that, right around 2 o'clock a.m., the police show up. And they question TJ about whose car it is. He first says it's his stepfather's. They can sense that there's some alcohol on his breath. He finally states to him that, yes, he took the car. So at that point, they apprehend him and take him to the Aroostook County Jail, which is in Standish, Michigan. At that point, he goes through the booking process. They submit a breathalyzer, they fingerprint him, and at that point, he's in the booking room, handcuffed to a chair. This is when James Masiski comes in.
I'm Sheriff Masiski. We know you had the car tonight. You need to talk to me.
He talks to TJ, and TJ But basically just said he took the car and that he had nothing more to say to the sheriff. The sheriff later on comes back to TJ, wants to talk to him, and TJ says that he does not want to talk to him. So TJ invoked his rights twice. Jeannie was adamant that her son TJ was innocent of the homicides. She and her husband Jim were featured in an article by the Bay City Times after the murders and before the trial, saying that there had to be others involved. She is convinced of his innocence to this day.
What's this? Hey,
What?
this. What is this?
Well, I didn't think she'd fucking do it. I was just testing her.
Well, what's this to Jim Love? That's our son's girlfriend. Really?
Well, look, you know, it's none of your fucking business what I do.
Yeah,
and
it is.
ain't
She's
nothing
fucking
happening.
14,
She's 14,
Jim.
she's in the house.
She's 14, Jim! What is this?
It's nothing.
It's something?
TJ came from a home of alcoholism and domestic violence. TJ was on probation with some friends for breaking into vehicles to steal property. Yet, there was nothing in his history indicating any violence other than these minor property crimes. Okay, can we see that article? This is where you... Okay, all right. So the headline says, knowing our son, he didn't do it. Okay. I've had a chance to read that article, and the undersheriff, Dwayne Bean at the time, stated that the investigation wasn't taking him outside of TJ as the suspect, and they maintained that he was the one that did this. So why do you think that they only looked at him?
To use him as a scapegoat. And my intuition
Okay,
tells me from day one that he did not do it, and there was somebody else there that did it.
okay. So at the time, this is before the trial. The trial happens in October. The murders happen April 19th, 97. October, he goes to trial. His public defender had filed a lot of motions to get the court case removed out of Aranac County, to get the prosecutor off of the case. Now, why is it that he was talking about the prosecutor not being involved?
Oh, because he knew Mr. and Mrs. Stanley.
Okay,
I guess from what I remember, the prosecutor went to school with him.
if you take a look at Mr. Dewey, after one attorney was appointed and he recused himself because he said he knew the Stanleys, Mr. Dewey ends up with the job of defending TJ. A very difficult job in a very provincial, small area. He states that Mr. Scully, who is a close friend to the victims, to Peter and Ruth Stanley, that he should not be able to prosecute this case because of conflict of interest. Mr. Scully belonged to the same church, the same fraternal order, Knights of Columbus. He was very close to them, business-wise, personal, and also attended their funeral. In 2005, TJ sends this letter to his parents. By 2006, somehow it ends up in the hands of the Aranac County prosecutors. They also have a letter at that time that was an anonymous author that stated that there were 4 people involved and that TJ was only involved with taking the car. We don't know who wrote this letter, so there were 2 letters in the hands of the prosecutor. So what the prosecutor does at this time, James Misiski, at this time in 2006, he had lost that 4-year term. So he was no longer there. There was a new sheriff. The prosecutor doesn't go to the Arnett County Sheriff at that time, the new one. He goes to the state police in Tawas. He gets a detective, he gets a polygrapher. They go down to Jackson prison at the time, that's where TJ was, and they say to TJ, look, did you write this letter? Did you date this? Is this true? He says it is. What happens at that point is they said, will you submit to a polygraph? He says yes. They take him to in Jackson, they take him and they polygraph him, and they simply say that, look, there's some deception here, and he states to them, this is what he tells me. He states to them, no, there shouldn't be, and it basically ends at that point.
And this is a letter that he had sent to you and your husband.
Yes.
Okay, and what's the date on that letter?
2/21 or 2005.
Okay.
Mom and Dad, it has been a long time, and I feel that it is way overdue for me to tell you guys this. The fact of the matter is that I didn't kill Mr. and Mrs. Stanley. There were 2 people with me that night. Their names are Athena Koviak and Steve Rakowski. I did not tell anybody sooner due to the fact that a handgun was put to my head, and I was told that if I said anything that I would end up like the 2 people in the house, or you guys would end up like that. I had no choice but to take it serious. I wanted to say something sooner, but I was scared of what would happen to you guys. I wish that I could go back and explain everything, but I can't, so now I am telling you now. That night, the whole purpose of me leaving the house is because Athena and me wanted to steal a car, basically just for the rush. While I was breaking into the garage to get the car, they went into the house to rob it and get some money. I did not realize that they had my gun with them. I am sorry for that shame, agony, and embarrassment that I have brought to you guys. But the honest to God's truth is all that I did wrong was steal a car and never came clean about this sooner. The reason they never found any of my fingerprints in the house is because I never went into the house at all. I will explain more later, but I just felt like this letter was long overdue, and you guys needed to know. I love you guys very much, and I am sorry for not telling you guys sooner. But like I said, I really felt like I had no choice because of my safety and for you guys' safety. I love you guys. Love TJ. He put this in the mailbox on 2/21/2005 at 10:30 p.m.
Okay. So when you received this letter, do you believe him?
Yes.
Okay. And why is it that you believe him?
Well, one reason, he never lied to me at all. Ever.
All right.
I'd ask him a question, yeah, Mom, I did it.
And the reasoning is that TJ states in his letter that Rakowski had threatened him with a handgun in the vehicle, that if he talked about this, that this could happen to his own family or him. So TJ understands this threat and takes the threat serious. At 6:30 in the morning, Troy Holland, a grandson, is along the road with the police and is there when the police find the rifle and the flashlight, and there's also a pill bottle and the ski mask on the road. So they are associates. Troy Holland is there in the morning on that road. So he plays a significant role, that these people are all persons of interest. The police then, they do question these people, but the investigation only at that point is focused upon TJ, that he is the sole person, that there is no conspiracy, and that he committed this crime alone. After the murders, we have articles that the police were putting in the local paper. They were looking at this point for Athena, TJ's girlfriend. So this was in February of '98. The murders occurred April of '97. And she is running with a boy named Randy Arquette. He is 19 at the time. She is 15 now. They can't find her, and he is charged with unlawfully taking a car. But I have their report, and their report states that TJ broke down, and he said that he simply did this on his own, that Mr. Stanley had awakened, and that he killed both of them. But there is no statement signed by TJ, there is no recording in that FOIA. There is nothing there saying that. TJ says they are lying about this fact that he broke down. He said, "Take me back to the prison." At that point, this is April 19th, 2023. Would have been 26 years later. She writes, "Thank yourself for how far you've come. It hasn't been easy." So this is the 26th anniversary of these murders. When CBI did a FOIA with the state police, it was 500 pages. And this investigation took place in 2006. And what happens is the prosecutor of Aranac County, letters fall in his hand. One is an anonymous letter that there was four people involved, and that TJ, his part was only to go to the detached garage. Also, the prosecutor had TJ's letter that he sent to his parents. We know that this letter had to get to the prosecutor or to the Stanleys, most likely by TJ's dad. So after this happens, the prosecutor doesn't go to the new sheriff. Okay, the sheriff at the time in '97 had lost a term and then come back. He goes to the state police in Tawas. They go to Jackson, where TJ is, in that prison, and they bring that letter and they said, "Did you write this letter? Did you date this letter? Did you sign this letter? Is this letter true?" TJ states yes. They ask him, will he go and take a polygraph? He said yes. So they polygraph him, they talk to him, and they say in this investigation that he breaks down and admits to killing the Stanleys. The problem there is that in the FOIA, there's no taped confession, and there's no signed document by TJ stating this. This is only what they're saying. TJ said that they are falsifying this, that he did not say this. He said, "Take me back to the prison." And so by them polygraphing him, this was a way to make him look guilty, because the veil of secrecy was being lifted at this point. There were letters floating around the county that is suggesting that there's more people involved in this double homicide. So when TJ told me in prison that they come to polygraph him, there was a real disconnect there. I didn't in a sense believe him. But when we filed the FOIA, it's there that they really did this. Why would they polygraph someone that's been convicted of a double homicide? So 2006 this happens. 2010, a federal judge completely overturns the entire conviction because of constitutional violations by the Internet authorities. But under a new law in Michigan, he was able to determine whether TJ at 14 could be tried as a minor or as an adult. He decided to try him as an adult. Before in Michigan, this was left up to the circuit court to decide this. One person, the prosecutor, decided this case, decided that he would be prosecuted for life for the murder of Peter Lewis Stanley. So the process takes its course. TJ goes to district court. The district court is very similar to a grand jury like they have in other states. The district court decides if this case would be bound over to circuit court. The judge is a visiting judge from another county. He decides there's enough evidence based on what is presented that it was TJ's gun, that he was with their car, so they bind it over to circuit court. October 31st, Halloween, 1997, TJ is convicted after 3.5 days. At that point, the wheels of justice are slow. They go through the appeals. The state appeals deny him. Finally, in 2010, a federal judge, Bernard Friedman, wipes the conviction away, stating gross constitutional issues that go back to the sheriff, that go back to Mr. Dewey, that go back to Mr. Scully, that he should get a new trial. But before he could get a new trial, what happens is the Attorney General, Bill Schuette, appeals the case right away to the federal appellate court, and a 3-panel federal appellate court decide in 2012 that they would reverse the conviction that had been completely dropped. At this time, I see him as a political prisoner. If you're going to reinvestigate and talk to TJ and polygraph him, then why would you not, at that point, go polygraph Stephen Rakowski, he's alive at this time, and Athena? Why would you not investigate them and polygraph them? Okay, they didn't do this. Okay, so in order to look at and to try to verify TJ's story in the letter in 2005, you must do that. I think this was a way that they could make him look guilty again. He was already convicted. Why are they polygraphing him in prison? This is 9 years later.
Hey, shut the fuck up and get out of here!
TJ writes this letter to his parents in 2005, detailing this connection to these two, okay? And he writes this letter to his parents stating that he is sorry that it has taken that long to tell them, but he's very explicit that he did not kill the Stanleys, that Athena had commandeered his gun. They had his gun already. She called him that night right before midnight. We know these two leave right before midnight at a house in Augrey. We believe that she calls TJ, he rides his bike there. When he arrives there, they're already there trying to break into the home. He was arrested with some other friends of his, and they were breaking into cars, and they were stealing CDs, they were stealing things out of the cars. And One of the cars was one of the Stanley sons. Okay, so there is that history in the sense that it was tied to the family as far as that, and he had been put on probation for that. And it's interesting that even that crime, there's other juveniles with him, okay, on these car break-ins. The evidence shows that the items that were thrown out of the car, it would have been difficult for TJ alone to throw his rifle that far out into the ditch, into the woods. And he would have thrown everything outside that left side. The ski mask ends up on the right side. TJ states that his girlfriend is sitting in the front passenger seat. So there are many inconsistencies. We believe that the weight of the case with TJ's clarification in his letter that this is a conspiracy, that he did not do this alone, that he was lured there by his girlfriend. We believe that his girlfriend did not know the entire complexity of this, that she only thought that they were going in, that this would be a home invasion for money. So that's why she had a ski mask on, because she didn't want to be ID'd by anyone in the home. The state police determined that the shots that hit Mr. Stanley, Mr. Stanley would have been hit first, he was the closest to the shooter, that they were within a foot of his head. Mrs. Stanley, they were even closer, about a half a foot. So this is a very small room, 10 by 10, 10 by 12. As you would walk in this room, you're basically right on top of them, extending a rifle, a .22 rifle at that point. It's very close, and it is a double tap on both of them, which we find very strange that if TJ was in this house and he was startled, he may have got one shot off and left the house, that this was not an intent on his part if he was in the home. But we do know that a live round is pushed out, okay? This is characteristic of someone in the military also, to check and chamber the rifle to make sure. So at this point, if TJ was the shooter, he would have simply known that one was chambered. So we do have a live round. We have 4 spent shells. This is not something that we would see a 14-year-old do, especially it lacks the motive. We do know that the grandson was a manager at his parents' grocery store, and the MO for Rakowski, even after the murders, was he was convicted in Oscoda, a town north of Augrey, of taking merchandise out of a grocery store that he worked at. These two were close when he was a manager at this grocery store. We do know that they had theft at that store. No matter what race you are, if you do not have the money in this country to defend yourself, if you are left with a public defender, you are at a great disadvantage, okay? Something like this can occur, especially in a small provincial town, and it did. He tells Garner Dewey that these two are involved, that this is a conspiracy, that he didn't do this. At that time, TJ tells me in one of our visits at the prison is that Mr. Dewey states that we're not going to use that as a defense. We're not going to be snitches. This was his reply to TJ. This is TJ's attorney. He trusts him. At that point, Mr. Dewey goes through all of the motions to get the trial removed. So he basically is trying to defend him on the fact that this is all just circumstantial evidence, that they found him with the car, that it is his gun. We do know that because of the ballistics, but they never found the gun on TJ. So that's, at that point, that's where we're at on that, as far as Mr. Dewey believed that he could defend him, and at that, he wanted to get the confession removed but couldn't get the confession removed. The confession was admitted into court, and that's the only thing that the jury convicted him on, was this confession. Okay, you had a public defender that we believe had associations with Rakowski, because Rakowski worked with his father in bail bonds, okay, which means that Mr. Dewey was a criminal attorney. He would have had involvement. In a small town, everyone knows everyone. And so that is probably one of the reasons why Mr. Dewey said, we're not going to use this as a defense. I believe Mr. Dewey should have went to the authorities right away and said, look, I'm not admitting any guilt of my client. We need to look further into this. But he didn't do this, and he should have. Now, it's interesting that Mr. Dewey puts Athena, TJ's girlfriend, on the stand. It's his witness. And he, at that point, is trying to make it look like that TJ's friend, Jeremy Davis, who TJ said he was going to go see that night, he asked Athena, do you recognize this bike? And Athena is saying that it looks like Jeremy Davis's bike, that this is something that Jeremy Davis could have done. So I think what he was doing was he was using her as a witness to show that there was someone else that did this. Now, Mr. Dewey makes a big mistake in his closing arguments. Okay, open and closing arguments, juries do not take that in as evidence. So what he does is he says to the jury that my client is only guilty of being on that property, that he did not pull the trigger to his own gun. He says this to the jury, but that's a violation of attorney-client rights and ethics. You cannot admit any guilt of your client, and in a sense he was. And Judge Freeman talks about how this was a violation. Also, it's a violation of the sheriff. And he talked to TJ twice that, look, TJ invoked his rights and that he should have stopped. When his parents came, wanted to see him, they wouldn't let him see him until they talked to him. I think it's taken a heavy toll upon her, because she has believed right from the very beginning that she knew her son. She knew that this didn't happen the way it happened. They said it happened. She said, my son could have not done this. Now, people would say, well, this is your son. You're going to say this. Maybe true, but the thing is, she had an intuition that, look, there's no way that he's going to commit this crime. And we do know that Athena was an acquaintance to Mr. Rakowski. And what is suspicious is that Athena's talked to the next day after the murders. She says that she's at someone's house. Her grandfather was running frantic looking for her, She wasn't where she said she was going to be. 5 days later, the police talked to her again. She states that she is riding around with Mr. Rakowski in his car around Albray, and that they arrived back at about 3 a.m. I think in the least, the police should have been alerted to the fact that they're reinforcing each other's alibi, and just the fact that he is with a 14-year-old, he is married at the time, and we find it very strange that the police don't look at this deeper and look at their relationship. Now, TJ, at 8:30 in the morning after the murders, he is brought in and he confesses to the murders, okay? But he had been up over 24 hours. The confession is riddled with errors. He doesn't know how many times Mrs. Stanley is shot. He says she's only shot once. He cannot answer why he shot them. So there's discrepancies there also at that point. So we believe this was a false confession. The research shows that 12 to 17-year-olds are likely to give a false confession because of fear, because of they're tired. There's also they can't stand up to 5 uniforms in the room with them with guns, and they buckle under that pressure. And we believe that he simply had to say this because he couldn't say who did it. What's interesting is that TJ was a pathological liar to the police all morning long, okay? Once they apprehended him, he said it was his stepfather's car. When he was in the car, they come over dispatch saying that the family said that the keys wouldn't be in the car, in the garage. TJ said that they're liars, that the keys were in the car, and that he just went into the garage. The reason he had to say that is because he can't talk about this. He says he threw the rifle in the river. There's all kinds of lies, but then at 8:30 in the morning, all of a sudden the police believe him because it fits what they want to hear. In 2010, the federal judge overturns it, Bernard Friedman. And I believe that Bernard Friedman is the only judge within the judicial system that looked at this case for what it was, that there were gross constitutional issues. TJ invoked his rights twice. He had signed a waiver. He had signed the Miranda warning. He basically said, I don't want to talk to you. And there was reasons why, because he had been threatened. And so Bernard Friedman basically said, look, I'm overturning the entire conviction. But TJ remained in prison for the 2 years that this was appealed by Bill Schuette. And the 3-panel federal appellate court, I don't know what they were looking at. They weren't looking at the same case that Bernard Friedman was. They couldn't have, because it was very clear that there were constitutional issues. But what makes this case very interesting is that there's not only constitutional issues, it's the fact that there are evidentiary issues that they cannot prove today that he committed those murders. Why did Mr. Misiski, the sheriff of Aranet County, why was it so imperative to get a confession? There was no evidence gathered at this point. In fact, the State Police Crime Lab, who handled the investigation for the sheriff, they lifted no prints in the house. And through FOIAs with the state police and with Aranac, we find that there are no prints in a double homicide crime. We can only use conjecture that what happened was he tells the state police, we have our man, we found him with their car, and he's just simply assuming that he's the one that went in the home. That's why they dropped the home invasion, because they can't prove he was in the home. He states in his letter to his parents that I was not in the house. There were prints all over that house that were not mine because I did not go in the house. It's too simplistic to think that a 14-year-old would have that motivation to go to that home, kill these people in their sleep, they don't wake up, to take their car. The idea is that they were going to take a car that night to just joyride. And it turned into her calling him to bring him over to that property, and then Mr. Rakowski is there. So the whole thing changes. I know our system isn't perfect, yet when it errs, it needs to correct itself, or the whole system runs the risk of systemic failure and quite possibly anarchy. Benjamin Franklin quoted that it would be better to let 100 guilty people go free than to imprison one innocent person. Based on the circumstantial evidence and lack of physical and biological evidence, I contend that TJ Trimble did not pull the trigger to his own gun. Certainly not 4 times military execution style. Mr. Trimble has now spent 2/3 of his life imprisoned. Peter and Ruth Stanley were kind and gentle people by all accounts. They were the true victims. They were devout Catholics, and in the spirit of Pope John Paul II, even though their home was invaded and TJ was on the property, they certainly would not have wanted a young boy to suffer for crimes he did not commit. TJ Trimble is a political prisoner. The Michigan courts and the federal appellate system failed him. This will now ultimately fall into the hands of the Honorable Governor Gretchen Whitmer. She alone will decide TJ's fate.